the Moneyweb Crypto Podcast, where we discuss all things crypto related. Your host, Kieran Ryan.
South Africans discovered crypto arbitrage several years ago as a relatively low-risk way of making a return from differences in crypto prices between South Africa and overseas exchanges. This is one of the great gifts of currency controls. Crypto can be bought on overseas exchanges, then sold locally for a profit. It was something of a cottage industry for many years as people figured out how to get funds out of the country to purchase Bitcoin and then ship them back to South Africa. It's since become far more streamlined, with several companies now offering to take care of the logistics and regulatory hurdles. And those regulatory hurdles have increased quite substantially in the last few years. We haven't heard much about crypto arbitrage for a while, so we thought it about time to check in on it and see if it's still going and is it still profitable. To answer those questions, we're joined by David Farello, CEO of Currency Hub, to take a health check on the crypto arbitrage market. Hi, David. It's good to talk to you again. Many people will remember years ago when you could buy Bitcoin on Kraken in the United States and then sell it in South Africa for a quick 6 or 8% profit. But those days are behind us. Bring us up to date on the state of the crypto arbitrage market. I don't think those returns are quite as generous as they were back in the old days, but where are we standing at the moment?
Yes, thanks, Kieran. It's great to be back, and thanks for having me. Yes, the days of double-digit arbitrage returns are most certainly behind us, but great while it lasted, I guess. With that being said, we still cannot complain about where the current crypto premium is. We're busy trading at around levels of 1.3 to 1.5% gross. Now, back in 2017, when I first stumbled upon the arbitrage opportunity, the primary crypto that dominated the market was Bitcoin and Ethereum, but mostly Bitcoin. So that's where all the liquidity was. And that's how we began trading the arbitrage. Now, fast forward 8 years to now, the primary cryptocurrency that is used to facilitate the crypto arbitrage service are stablecoins, USDT, known as Tether, and USDC, known as Circle. Now, a stablecoin is a special kind of digital money that's made to keep its value steady. Most cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, you'll know, goes up and down a lot in price, which makes it very hard to use like regular money. Now, a stablecoin solves this by tying its value to something stable, like a real-world currency, the US dollar. So if a stablecoin is tied to the US dollar, one stablecoin is equal to $1. So then one tether is equal to $1. But now you have this on the blockchain instead of in a bank account. So now the US dollar rand cryptocurrency pair that launched on Valor probably 2 years ago now, and Valor is the local cryptocurrency exchange. We were one of the first to begin trading the stablecoin currency pair for our arbitrage offering. And back then it was trading probably around R1 million in daily traded volume. Today, just on Valor's USDT, Tether Rand on exchange flow, there is probably around 350 million Rand that is being traded using USDT alone. So the demand for dollars on the blockchain is massive, and it's actually helped increase the crypto premium as a result from the low that we probably saw a couple of years ago.
Right. So the gross premium or the arbitrage gap, as I prefer to call it, it's between 1.3, 1.5%. Is it fairly steady around that level? Does it sometimes widen up to 4%? I have seen that from time to time. And when that does happen, it often seems to be on a Sunday or a weekend. Are you able to take advantage of those momentary jumps in the premium?
So yes, you are. But on the weekends, you got to remember the Forex market, your traditional US dollar market, is not open, right? So the first leg of the arbitrage offering is being able to buy your US dollars. That has to be done from Monday to Friday during normal business hours, right? So you will see a spike going into weekends, and this is a lot harder to take advantage of. So that premium will normalize during the week at around 1.3 to 1.5%.
Okay, so there's still profits to be made, not quite as much as it was back in the good old days. But what kind of people are being attracted to crypto arbitrage now? I would imagine there's a lot of people, they see this as a fairly easy way to make money without much risk. It used to be the younger tech-savvy crowd, but I'm sure it's broadened. So tell us a little bit about what kind of people are participating.
So, yeah, there certainly is still profits to be made. We actually have an arbitrage estimated profit calculator now on our website, which allows you to select your desired trading capital amount. We accept anything above 100K and up, and you're able to move the gross premium around too. So the calculator will then estimate your net return that you can expect to make at a certain gross premium, and also select the size of your capital that you desire to invest. So, for example, if we have an average gross premium of 1.4% over your full 11 million Rand trading allowance for the calendar year, using an investment amount of 250,000 Rand, for example, your estimated net return after all fees is around 90,000 Rand. So now, even though we are trading at a lower gross premium relative to previous years or periods, a 90,000 Rand return on your capital of 250,000 Rand is still 36%. So to achieve this kind of return on your investment in another investment product like an equity long only unit trust or a hedge fund, for example, is extremely difficult and comes with more risk. So added to this return, actually, before I forget, is the bank account that we open for our clients for us to facilitate the arbitrage cycle is an interest earning account, producing interest rates similar to your money market investment products. So our clients are also getting a further kicker of 5.5% per annum in interest on their cash. This rate does move depending on where the interest rates are in South Africa at that point in time. So the total return on investment using 250K as an example is actually around 41% at the current gross premium level. So in my opinion, it's still a fantastic return considering the low risk profile it's in. So just back to your question. So you are right in saying that tech savvy and younger generation were quick to catch on to the arbitrage investment opportunity 8 years ago, back when it was high single digits, as they were much closer and a lot more interested in the crypto industry and the excitement it brought back then. But as the industry has matured, our clientele is a lot more diverse. And with that being said, we now have traditional financial service providers like your wealth managers and your financial advisors who are reaching out to us to invest their clients' capital, as they are now allowed to do so due to cryptocurrencies being regulated by the FSCA.
Okay, so we should probably just point out that you talk about the 11 million Rand foreign currency allowance, and where does that come from? And does everybody in South Africa, are they entitled to that? Explain that.
Exactly. So why does arbitrage exist in South Africa? And that's due to our capital constraints, right? The exchange controls, which have been around since the mid-1960s, if I can recall. This means that as a South African individual, you are allowed to take 1 million Rand offshore without tax clearance from SARS. And this is known as your SDA, your single discretionary allowance. Then you are allowed to take a further 10 million Rand abroad. And this is every calendar year, right? It resets every 1st of January. But with that 10 million Rand, you need to go to SARS, and we do this in-house as part of our service. We go to SARS on behalf of you, and we submit an application for international transfer. And that's the acronym called AIT. So these are two acronyms we use a lot. SDA, your 1 million Rand, you don't need tax clearance. AIT, 10 million Rand, we actually go to SARS. We provide them with your statement of your bank account and other supporting documents, and we will get a certificate, a TCC, a tax clearance certificate from SARS, where we can then go and take more money out the country. And we will keep doing this with your invested capital until we reach the maximum of 10 million Rand every year.
Right. So your 1 million rand special discretionary allowance, that requires no permissions. And, this is the money that you would spend if you went overseas on a holiday with your credit card and so on. But in this case, you're using it for crypto arbitrage. And then the 10 million is the AIT. I think they used to call it the foreign investment allowance. That you have to have tax clearance. So you've got to be up to date in your taxes to get that. What are the logistics involved in applying for that tax clearance certificate?
So you would need to, again, we do this all in-house. It's a service that we do as part of the arbitrage, because 90% of the arbitrage is AIT, right? So you would need to produce 3 years of your assets and liabilities. So we've actually got a template, and the template gets sent to the clients. They complete the 3 years A&L. You would also need to produce the proof of liquidity. Okay. So it all depends on where your liquidity comes from. So let's use the simplest case. It's cash in your account. They just want to see 3 months of the cash sitting in there, and that's your proof of liquidity. There are other states, a mortgage, for instance, or credit facility. You can actually add, if you can draw down on your facility and say there's 1 million rand sitting there, you can now use that as liquidity. So you can get the amount of the AIT amount up by increasing all the different types of liquidity you may have.
Okay, so people hear a figure like 11 million. That's a huge figure. I'm nowhere near that in terms of my saving, but they don't have to have 11 million rand. What is the minimum that is required to do crypto arbitrage?
We onboard clients with 100,000 rand as a minimum. Okay, so the one thing that clients need to understand is that there is a fixed fee. Okay, most of the other fees are variable, so it comes down the higher. I mean, it's variable. So the fixed fee is a SWIFT fee that the bank takes every single time we trade Forex. We buy dollars for our clients. So that fee is 500 rand. So on 100,000 rand, we have to do 110 trades to get to your full allowance of 11 million rand. So that's going to be a lot of money spent in SWIFT fees, where if you're trading with 250,000 rand, you're only doing 44 trades. So you're going to be saving an enormous amount of money from not paying the bank. So, but that being said, 100,000 rand, you're still generating a lucrative return considering where the premium is. But the higher your trading capital, the more you're going to make, because the higher your SWIFT savings, essentially.
Right. So ideally, you would want something like 200 or 250,000, because then you would save on the SWIFT fees and then your return goes up. Now, back in just a few years ago, there was another aspect to this where people could actually lend the money. You could lend 5 million. Sorry, you could borrow 5 million, in which case you're only doing a single transaction. And I'm sure you, as the crypto arbitrage provider, you could wait it out, because there's only really 2 or maybe 3 trades that you would do a year. You'd wait for the premium to jump to maybe 3.5%, 4%, and then grab that. That would make a hell of a difference. But I think that lending aspect, that's been knocked out. It's been kiboshed, hasn't it, by the South African Reserve Bank. Am I correct?
So yes, you're correct in the one stance. It has been stopped, but not by the Reserve Bank. It's been stopped by the banks, the authorized dealers. So prior to October 2023, right, the authorized dealers, and these are the banks where we purchase US dollars for our clients, were accepting NCR loans, loans provided to individuals from national credit providers and non-banks, right? And these loans are allowed by the South African Reserve Bank, and still are, to be used for crypto arbitrage, as they fall within the guidelines for our exchange control policies. But the authorized dealers, who also have a responsibility to ensure that our country's exchange control policies are being adhered to, began seeing new NCR providers pop up, primarily to service arbitrage clients with large loans in order to invest in the crypto arbitrage services. Now, the risk committees of the authorized dealers were not convinced that some of these NCR clients receiving loans were feasible to receive such a large amount. So they stopped accepting NCR loans as a result, and now only accept bank originated loans, such as credit facilities, your mortgage facility, which you can draw down on, and use it for the arbitrage investments. So our clients would still need to use either their own savings or credit provided by the bank, not an NCR.
All right. So the crypto arbitrage gap currently at about 1.5%. Still profitable, but it is way down, as we mentioned earlier, to what it was a few years ago. What have been the big events that are driving the gap to these levels?
Yeah. So I guess it's been quite a volatile start or volatile year so far for global markets and currencies. Now, last year we saw an average gross premium of around 1.8 to 1.9%, with lows of below 1% and highs of around the 4%, which you said. Albeit these higher levels are always very brief and don't stay around for too long, right? Now, coming into 2025, we are averaging around 1.8 to 2% growth. As a result of some steady and consistent Rand appreciation. But the Rand strength quickly turned into depreciation when Trump began his tariff tantrum, imposing the higher tariffs globally and then sparking a sharp sell-off in risk assets and emerging market currencies like the Rand. What this did is resulted in the gross premium falling below 1% in April, and the Rand reaching peak levels of 1990 to the dollar. But this was only a negotiation tactic of Trump's. And since then, the tariff hikes have not only been paused, but also lowered. So as we speak, the Rand dollar is actually trading at levels prior to the Trump tariff tantrum, around 18.30 to the dollar. And the premium has come back nicely to around 1.3 to 1.5%. So the Rand dollar is still the primary factor that has the largest influence on the cryptocurrency premium in South Africa.
So Rand strengthens, generally you see the premium widen. Is that correct?
Correct. That factor, the reason why it's becoming more relevant or having more of an influence is why? Because of the Tether Rand currency pair. Okay. The buyers are looking at levels. They're buying dollar Rand levels. So they will, when the currency depreciates, they'll rather sit back and they're not going to be buying dollars on the blockchain at higher levels. So therefore your demand falls. And as soon as it comes back to the levels at their appetite, the strength, you'll see them come back into the market.
Makes sense. All right. Tell us about Currency Hub. What's new?
So what's new? Yes, we're still primarily focused on the arbitrage service. So we believe we achieve the best gross premium in the market on any given day with our experience in both the investment banking side and asset management. We built a sophisticated trading desk, which enables us to produce superior risk-adjusted returns. So now with cryptocurrencies being regulated and FSPs having received their CASPs, and this is your crypto asset service provider license, we are now offering a broker service where wealth managers and financial advisors are able to register and onboard their clients with us for our crypto arbitrage service. And the brokers would then receive a share of Currency Hub's fee. So I'm very excited about this. I've actually had already a few calls last week with some wealth managers who are now allowed to offer this to their clients. We're also about to launch our new client portal, which has been 6 months in the making. This is actually happening next week. This is going to allow us to enhance the client experience and much more. So yeah, very excited. It's been something I've been pushing for a while now. I'm glad to see that going live. And then lastly, a partner of ours has just launched one of the first, if not the first, digital asset-backed loan offering. And it's called DigiTurtle. This means that South Africans can now use their Bitcoin, Ethereum, or US dollar Tether as collateral for a loan. So, for example, if you holding cryptocurrency but don't want to sell it and you need cash and rands, you can rather use it as collateral for a loan from DigiTurtle. So that's quite exciting.
And do they do that through Currency Hub or do they do that somewhere else?
No, it's DigiTurtle. It's a separate company. It's a company part of the company we used for loans back in the day prior to the NCR loans being switched off. So we've had a long-term relationship with them going on 4 years now.
And just very briefly in closing, how has the regulatory environment changed your business? Because now there's a lot of reporting obligations on you. You're, I guess, closely watched by the Financial Sector Conduct Authority and to some extent by the Financial Intelligence Center, because there's a new travel rule that any amount more than 5,000 Rand has to be reported. So how has your life changed because of these regulations?
Yeah, so regulation is finally here, thank goodness, because it does help keep out the bad actors in the space. So we have actually had a full year and a half of cryptos being regulated. It's gone quite quickly. Has that changed anything in our space? It most certainly has. The interest in digital assets is only increasing as the space matures, but now with regulation, it allows traditional finance service providers the ability to offer digital asset services to their client base, right? With regards to the cryptocurrency premium, because more financial services providers are allowed to facilitate this for their clients, as a result of regulation, there are far more South Africans doing the cryptocurrency arbitrage investment. And so you should expect the average gross premium to fall and where it is currently. But the question, we're always asking ourselves is, where does that premium normalize, or where is the ultimate base case gross premium in a mature, more competitive market, right? In my opinion, as long as our exchange controls, those capital constraints, right, are still enforced, there will always be some sort of premium for us to trade.
So while the rest of the country might be saying, really, we've had enough of exchange controls, you're quite happy to see them stay.
I'm most certainly biased. Yeah, I don't believe in them, but happy that it's still here so that our clients can still take advantage of it. Yeah.
We're going to leave it there. That was David Ferrello, CEO of Currency Hub. Thanks very much for joining us, David.
No, it's a pleasure, and thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Moneyweb Crypto Podcast, hosted by Kieran Ryan. To listen to our other podcasts, go to moneyweb.co.za or the Moneyweb app and follow Moneyweb News for daily updates.